All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave on the Harmless Dave channel, talking about real music, doing it in real time for a few real people out here just like you and just like me. All right, gonna talk about Don Felder, Styx, the Eagles, Hotel California, and things related to that. All right, because I think we're getting to a point now where you may disagree with me, and that's fine, but this is becoming more karaoke than it used to be. And it's getting where if you're spending a lot of money, don't you want to hear the songs the way you've heard them for the last 30, 40, 50 years, depending on the band that you're dealing with here? All right. Anyway, before I get there, here's this cool band from Sweden called King of the Road. It's a blues rock band. They're really good. The album, best title of the year. Get up, get down, and get with it. I could say Batman at the end. Maybe that would make it even better. Um, all I can say is this is real music, and these guys play it really well, all original material, and they're from Sweden. It's not like the melodic rock I normally feature, but it is melodic, but it's blues oriented rock, contemporary sounding. All right. So, in fact, I'm talking about the Eagles here and Don Felder. These guys do a version, not on this album, but they do a really good version of Life in the Fast Lane, where they combine Rocky Mountain Way with Life in the Fast Lane. It's really interesting. So, anyway, King of the World. I think I'm the only person really talking about King of the World. So, that's interesting. Maybe there's a reason for that, Dave. So Don Felder, he's going to be tagging along this Kevin Cronin, formerly of REO Speedwagon Tour, with Styx. So it's going to be that triple bill that toured, I don't know, a few years ago. And Kevin Cronin and Don Felder, they're both solo artists now, right? But weirdly, Kevin is bringing his current band, which is the REO Speedwagon of 2024, but it will no longer be REO Speedwagon in 2025. Just weird, right? There's been a lot of weird stuff lately in classic rock. The stuff with Journey is kind of weird. It just gets all thrown out there in the open, and then people talk about it and they stop talking about it. Don Felder, who I absolutely love as a guitarist, maybe I like Felder too much because I get a lot of like pushback. Like, Felder shouldn't be in the Eagles. They're doing fine without Felder. They're doing all right. They're selling out and the fans are showing up. And Felder wasn't a big name until he went solo, and then he became a much bigger name. And I'm talking about more recent solo, not like the stuff he did in the 80s, but everybody that I know loves Heavy Metal Taking a Ride. Everybody loves that. A lot of help on that song from Don Henley. But that was Felder, and he was just cool. If you like Don Felder in the 80s, you were like, whoa, dude, let's go into the basement, man, and smoke a couple of doobies. I mean, I never did that, for the record, never did it. Um, Still don't do it, even though, when you listen to me, you're thinking this guy's probably like on the wacky tobacco, but really I'm not. So, Felder singing Hotel California. Tommy Shaw singing Hotel California. Now, Tommy can sing better than Felder, but neither voice is appropriate for Hotel. You know whose voice is really good on Hotel California? Take a guess. I'm going to say Don Henley, right? All right. So here's the dilemma, and I talk about this a lot, and I discuss it with people in the business, and they agree with me. They just don't want to rock the boat. They want to get their next gig, right? And I don't blame them. Well, they're still showing up, Dave. Don't mess up. Don't mess this up for people. So, would I recommend going to see Felder and REO Kevin and Tommy Shaw and Styx? Yeah, sure. And am I still upset about Tommy Shaw not having Dennis DeYoung in Styx? Yeah, but obviously that's not going to happen. Just like Felder is not going to get back into the Eagles, even though if they're going to say farewell, you think they would invite the guy back for a couple of shows. But that's really bad blood there. And it's understandable. It's kind of like CCR level bad blood, I would say, if I were to rate it. If you know the whole Credence situation, it's on that level. But it's a shame. It's a shame that CCR never patched things up. But poor John Fogerty, man. Let's just, if you know anything about that story, guy does all the work, and these guys get jealous, and then all of a sudden they don't have a band anymore. Doing all the work means I made you guys millions of dollars. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. So Felder singing Hotel California is not my favorite thing. All right. Don Felder, his voice is what I would call serviceable. It does the service that you requested. I request that you sing songs. Can you complete that service? Yes. Tommy Shaw has a better voice. Doesn't sound, I already said this once in the video, doesn't sound like Don Henley. And thus, you're left with a karaoke version of one of the most epic songs of all time. It's like if a band decided to do Stairway to Heaven and they had like nothing to contribute when it came to being even remotely close to the original song. Like they could play the song, but it didn't really sound that much like the song. And then when they tried to sing it, which in the case of Stairway, you really need a Robert Plant-like voice. The lead singer of the band Kingdom Come probably in his day could sing it. The lead singer of Bonham, Jason Bonham's first band, I think, could probably sing it, or the first band. He was in another band prior to that, but anyway, there are a few guys who have the vocal chops to do it. But do I want to hear that? If it ruins the song, and that's how I feel on Hotel. These are epic songs. That's where I'm going with this. And we're just going to rely on the fact that this is such an amazing song. And people want to hear it regardless of if it sounds like the original at all. And if we have a singer that gets nowhere near Don Henley in this case, or in the other case, it would be Robert Plant. Do we want to hear that? Some people don't care. There was an article that I just read not too long ago where people said, hey, we're just here to drink and party and have a good time. These are people that are my age who have a lot of disposable income, and they don't really care that much about the finished product. They care about going out and having a good time. And hence, this is why bands like, up until recently, the Guess Who, but they've been shut down. And now the Guess Who is owned and operated by Randy Bachman and Burton Cummings again, which is great. Bands like the Little River Band, bands like Quiet Riot. I don't know if Quiet Riot is still out there doing what they were doing before, but these bands, they don't resemble anything of the past. They're just like, hey, we got the name. We got the name. We're running around with the name. Isn't that cool? Yeah, it's cool. And you're going to sell lots of tickets based on the name. I mean, the history there. And there are many bands that do this, that have like one original guy. I think another example would be the Outlaws with Henry Paul, who was a founder and who did sing a few songs. The songs that he sang weren't as popular as the ones that the late Huey Thomason sang, but he was in the band, and I give him credit for continuing on and keeping that legacy alive. The Southern rock stuff, like Lynyrd Skynyrd, the Outlaws, Molly Hatchet has zero original members. I don't know about Americans, but they have zero. They think it's all Americans and no Brits in Molly Hatchet. But they continue on, and that's a band, by the way, I think that sounds good doing what they're doing with these new guys. And I think this is the future. This is what you need to do, because they found someone who can kind of sing like their original singer. And so in the case of Styx and Don Felder, Don't do Hotel California. I mean, Felder's going to do a bunch of Eagles songs and he gets away with it and people are okay with it. They want to see him, they want to hear his guitar playing. But man, why not do a casting call for a singer who sounds like Don Henley to be in your band? That would be amazing, unless it's in the contract that he can't do that. Now, he had Jeff Coffey, the guy who used to sing in Chicago. He doesn't really sound like Henley either. Great singer, though. Um, so this becomes, like I say, this is like if you're going to go see Felder and Styx, you're going to get some karaoke, apparently. You're getting a different guy in Styx singing all of the Dennis DeYoung songs that Styx chooses to do, which I think is going to be an ever expanding list. Although they do have a new album coming out, so we'll have to see if they're going to do the Mission to Jupiter this time album or the Crash of the Countertops or whatever the album title is going to be called. Countertops. It was Crown. I'm just losing my brain here. So anyway, folks, I don't know what you think. This is kind of a wacky video here, but I don't really want to hear Don Felder or Tommy Shaw sing Hotel California. I'd rather hear somebody who's got a voice similar to Don Henley try to sing those songs that Don Henley sang with the Eagles. That's kind of it. If he can pull it off, people will go, wow, that's amazing. There's a tribute band, and a great example of this, and I don't know if I've talked about this band. I think I have. But there's a tribute band called Van Halen. Go check out Van Halen, Fan, in case you can't pick that up from my poorly spoken fan versus van. These guys are the singer. This is just, if you like the David Lee Roth era, Van Halen, this is so good. It's so good. And it's a little tongue-in-cheek vaudeville camp. Yeah, absolutely. But you're talking about David Lee Roth, so it has to be. But vocally, close your eyes and you'll be like, holy crap, Batman, that's really close. And imagine if Dave were still out there sounding like that, people would go see Dave. And he'd still be on tour probably, but he doesn't sound like he used to sound. And that's really the case across the board. As time goes on, it's 2024, almost 2025. Did a band who founded like in the late 60s and early 70s, did they really think they would be around in the year 2024? No, I doubt it. And the branding at this point is the only thing really keeping the band alive, is the branding. And the only way to keep that moving forward is to just, I don't know, all the original members need to quit and they all need to get together and do like a star search thing and find their replacements. Find people who can sound like casting call. We need somebody who sounds like Don Henley. There's got to be somebody in the world who kind of sounds like Don Henley. We'll pay you $1 million, right? Out of the gate. Of course, if that works out, then Don Henley gets $2 million for that person's $1 million. And that's how it's going to go. It's like the symphony orchestra idea. Well, the original symphonies, they're all gone like 300-400 years ago. How many years ago? And what do? They get new players. Now, of course, you don't have to worry about vocals here, so it's probably a little easier to recruit a new symphony. But when it comes to voices, I know the future, unfortunately, is probably going to be artificial intelligence doing this stuff, which I just don't like. I want to see humans out there playing their instruments and not singing to a vocal track. By the way, Eagles last year, they were accused of possibly using a vocal track. We don't know for sure, but it could have happened. And again, you're paying a lot of money to go see these shows. It's not just putting on a good show, which pretty much everybody does. It's sounding like they used to sound or somewhat close, where if you've had a few of these $14 beverages and you're sitting there, you're thinking to yourself, you know what? This is pretty close. I'm glad I went to this show. I'm glad I spent $500 for 2 tickets. It's great. I would do it again. That's where you want to be. If you're not there, honestly, maybe you shouldn't drink, right? Because then you'll be able to actually hear and you'll understand, or if not hear, at least you'll be able to absorb. There are some people, I'm wondering, the older people going to rock concerts these days who are losing their hearing. It's like the perfect place for them to go. Just because their ears are not going to ring after the show because they're not getting that full decibel level. All right, I'm very goofy in this video. I apologize. King of the World is really good. They're not goofy. Get up, get down, and get with it. Their album title is goofy, but the music inside is not. This not courtesy of any major record label. I think it's just like King of the World Records or something like that. So it's kind of indie, or it's a small Swedish record label. I don't know, but it's really good. So check it out. My name is Dave. Thanks for checking this out. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee are two ways you can support this channel as I rebuild from the ground up. I have to get to 82,000 by midnight on midnight, January 1st. I've got to get to a million. No, I'm just kidding. I just grateful that people still want to watch me, because I understand when you watch this, it's very low tech. Your IQ might drop a little bit, and it's time that you've wasted where you could be reading or walking or listening to music. Yeah. So anyway, you can do that now since the video is done.